Welcome back to Switch to Linux. This is Tom and a kitty. Say hi, kitty.
Hello, everyone.
I'll have to work on my ventriloquism.
Hello, everyone. I'm the kitty and I rule the show.
All right. So, today what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at how I use Linux on a web development project. Of course, web design has changed a lot over the years. When I first started as a web developer, actually the first time I did anything at all with web design development was the late 90s, and you could download Netscape Navigator that came with Composer. And actually there was another component already on a Windows 95 and 98 computer that you could build some simple websites on, and they were pretty atrocious. And I still have them, by the way. I put together a seminar for on web design stuff not too long ago, and actually I went back and took screenshots of my original websites, and they were bad. I'll tell you. But of course, the internet itself was bad back then. I put that up only like a year and a half, 2 years after images first made their way to a website. And the fact I could use an animated GIF as a logo on a site I had to do for college was fascinating. It's like predates Flash. Things move on the internet. So when I started my web design company in 2010, I actually just used Notepad just because it works just as good as anything else out there. But then when, that summer, Adobe released CS5, and so the day they released CS5, I jumped onto Amazon, and I bought one of the last copies Amazon had of CS4 at a 60% discount. And so that's why I have professional Adobe software in my office. And actually, ever since then, that helped tremendously. There's a whole lot of advantages to using actually something like Dreamweaver as opposed to just doing it all on Notepad. If nothing else, the ability to organize and structure sites and things like that, are all useful things. And so, with that being said, what we're going to do is I'm just going to, really spin up a website here on WordPress, and I'm going to show you why I use Cinnamon and how I do this. And then, of course, we'll talk a little bit about how I would make adjustments to small sites. We're not going to use any real websites that I work with for clients' safety and for basic security stuff. So what we're going to do is I'm going to start up with, I just spun up a CPanel account on my development server, which would allow me to just kind of start something out there. And let me get my web browser running, and then we'll switch my thing over there. All right. So what we're going to do here, let me go ahead and do a transition so you can see my screen. I'm going to work on something called This Awesome Site. So if you go to This Awesome Site, you see it doesn't go anywhere. That's because the thing doesn't exist. If somebody does happen to own this URL, it's not pointed anywhere. I have no idea if it is. But this is the domain that I set up a control panel to use. So in a development server build, on a Windows computer, I'd have to load up WordPad as an administrator and then navigate to Windows, System32, drivers, etc. Hit star.star, view all the files, and open the host file and make an edit. On Linux Mint, Cinnamon, and most versions of Linux, at least those based on Ubuntu, holding Control, Alt, and pushing T will bring up a terminal, and then I can just do a sudo nano, etc. hosts. Enter in my password. And actually, if you are on a Mac, this is the exact same method that you would use to edit the hosts file. So by editing the host file, I'm going to tell my local computer here to go into this individual location before anywhere else. So I have an IP address here, which is 185.115.201, and I'm going to send this to this awesome site.com. I'm going to repeat the process. www.thisawesomesite.com. So I'm going to hold Control, push X, hit Y to save it, hit Enter to save it as, and I'm going to exit the terminal. Now on Linux and on Mac, once you make the adjustment to the host file, it is automatically ready to go. On a Windows computer, you have to wait either a period of time or close down the browser and restart the browser to get the change. We don't have to worry about that. So then our next step, what we're going to do here is I'm going to log into the CPanel. So of course, as you can see, everything we're using is just basic utilities. We have a text editor over here where I put my basic login information, and we've done our file browser stuff. So I have a username and a password here. So now I can log into my cPanel. And of course, modern day web design is pretty web-based, as you can possibly imagine. There's going to be some things that we do a little bit different. So the first thing we're going to do, and like I said, we're going to spin up a WordPress site. And by the way, if you are running a WordPress site, stop what you're doing right now and make sure it's up to date. There was a major exploit pushed out in WordPress 9 days ago, 1st or 2nd, I think. And it is causing a lot of huge hacking issues. And so if you happen to have a WordPress site that is not up to date, make sure that you update it today. And as I'd said before, don't use the pre-purchased themes. Either build your own or use something that is simple. Or best case scenario, hire somebody who knows what they're doing. WordPress, unfortunately, the good thing about it is it's a pretty ubiquitous system. The bad thing about it is they've done this job trying to be like, this is the thing so that everybody can spin up your own website. And that's simply not true. It's helpful for the web developers. It's not all that helpful for the average Joe that wants to put up a website. Although you could do it, it's probably going to get hacked. You probably don't know much about security, and you probably can't do the things that you really want the thing to do. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to create a username, create a database. So I'm just going to go this AWDB, and actually I should cut that back. I'm just going to do THAWDB, and the reason is on many cPanel installs, you are limited. Your database can be 8 characters, but your username is limited to 7. And I like having these being the same thing. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep this. So here, and then I'm going to have this is my official username and database. I'm just going to drop this over into my access file. One's for the database, one's for the username, and then I need a password. I'm going to use the password generator. And then I'm going to create my user. Assign all privileges. And by the way, many of your control panels will have the ability to install WordPress through the feature manager. I think I've actually disabled it in mine. I got really mad when Envato purchased it and they started throwing all sorts of their ads and stuff through my control panel that my customers were doing. Therefore, if I happen to sell somebody a hosting package for my business, some other company got a chance to push a whole bunch of ads and sell their services through my control panel, and I never saw any money. So I blocked all those people. It might still be in here. I'm pretty sure it's not, though. But regardless, you should never, ever, 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 ever install a WordPress through a one-click install. Never purchase a hosting package that's hosting WordPress, like GoDaddy's WordPress hosting. Do not install WordPress through GoDaddy's one-click WordPress installer. It bundles a boatload of bloatware. Don't do it. Okay? WordPress is so extraordinarily simple to install. All we have to do is first do that database that I just did. And now what we're going to do is I had downloaded WordPress. So we just need to extract WordPress now. Going to extract it to my desktop. And it probably will appear over here somewhere. Here it is. And then now what we need to do is we need to upload the files. So what we're going to do is, just like I would do on Windows or Mac, I use FileZilla because it works. So with FileZilla here, what we need is just do our ftp.thisawesomesite.com. We just need our When you're using CPanel, the default login for the CPanel will also work as the main root FTP account. So I can do that, hit quick connect. Oh, that's right. I need to do, since I'm doing a host file redirect, I have to use the IP address, which is usually what I do anyway. Okay. So here is our server. You can see that it is empty. It does have a WP config file in there. I think that's because I was playing around with it, just make sure everything was working. Didn't get a chance to clear all that out. So we're going to copy all these files over, and then once we copy the files over, then we simply go right back to the main site again, and it will automatically run a WordPress installer. And we just grab the information that we started with, and that's all you need to do. Now, while that's doing that, I'm going to show you another neat feature of Cinnamon, and that is that you can load up your basic file manager, or your basic window browser. And I'm actually, I keep on clicking that, expecting it to do something. It's not. Come over here. So what you can do then is you can actually come over here and you can use your window manager here and go right into your server. It's going to ask you for your username and your password. Okay, and this is Nemo allows you to have this type of functionality. I want to say I think you can do this in Ubuntu too. But the challenge is I've never been able to successfully log into one of these and edit the files through Bluefish Editor. Now, this is the function that makes working on a WordPress site or any other basic server site really easy. So if you look at the Adobe suite, you had Dreamweaver, which will actually allow you to create a site through an FTP server. And so I can actually go right into my files there, and I can load up the file, make an edit, and save it directly to the server. Now, Adobe also had a program called Contribute that allows you to essentially do the same thing, where you just basically create a connection to the server. It will load up the site in a mostly like a what you see, what you get type editor, and then you can make some simple text edits, hit save, and it saves it directly to the remote server. Well, the one feature that I really like about Dreamweaver is that ability to edit and save things on the server. So if you happen to be using Nemo here, like we are doing, and you are FTP'd directly into a server, you can actually come over here, and if I come in and I find, for example, I can open this file with the Bluefish Editor. Now this thing is going exactly onto the server. So if I make any edits here and hit the save button, it will actually allow me to edit this and save it. Now, here's where the limitation on the Linux software comes into play for Bluefish Editor is I cannot find an easy way to really manipulate the directories here. So as you can see, it does give me the list of all of the files, but it does not give me the list of all of the folders. And I cannot, I mean, it might be a setting I just haven't found yet, but what I cannot seem to get to the point where I can actually view my folders in here and do cross navigation. So if I want to go up a directory, like in a WordPress site, you're usually editing your content in your themes. So if I want to come over here and make an edit to a theme file, I'd have to load up a new instance. Now this isn't too bad, in which case we have this guy here is the FTP directory inside your themes in 2015, and I can make my adjustments, but I can open any file here, and then I can make adjustments and then save them. So that is my only complaint about Bluefish Editor. Other than that, the fact that I cannot easily manage the files better, and then like I said, there might be a way, I just have not found it yet. Other than the fact that I can't navigate my folders and files inside the directory quite as fast as I can on Dreamweaver, actually the how the system works outside of that is actually better than Dreamweaver. You know, it has good code completion. If I want to come down here and put in a final div, I can just do this. It gives me the list of everything that I have. I can enter just the div, or I can put the div with its closing tag, so I can put the text right in the middle. So this is handy if I need to edit or add new items to the individual file there. Of course, I can, just like in Dreamweaver, I can come over here and figure out where everything is. Of course, in Dreamweaver, I can come down here, click a button, and it will highlight the entire thing. In this case, though, this is good enough. I can actually click on this, hold my shift, and come down here and do the same thing pretty easily because of how it gives everything highlighted. So as far as the website management, and this is Bluefish, and there's several other web development tools out there. I've looked at several of them. This is the one that I like the most. You'll notice here that an unsaved document is blue. So if I save that, it will save directly to the server. Now it changes from blue to black. And this is essentially how I do some web design stuff. So let's see. We almost have our WordPress site up. Down to 140 files left. Now, as far as graphic editing, Linux Mint comes with GIMP pre-installed. So GIMP does take care of pretty much anything. About anything I can do in Photoshop, I have learned how to do in GIMP. It doesn't work quite as smoothly as I'd like it to. However, it's certainly good enough. Of course, I'm running this with the single window mode under Windows. If you take that off, then you kind of get this... I hope I can figure out how to get back on there now. You kind of get this disjointed thing. I have no idea why they even made this thing capable of running so disjointed. And then the other major bug that I'm finding with GIMP, though, is that the theme kind of bleeds off a little bit. And what I always have to do is come under Preferences. If anybody knows a fix for this, please let me know. At any time I need to edit this up, you come into Preferences, down to Themes, and just click on any theme. And then it'll actually lock the themes in, right? So now it actually has things working. However, it's still on my toolbar here, on this toolbar, there's some tools down here that aren't showing, and I'm not sure if there's more underneath that or not. Now, I have to, confessions of a fairly new Linux user, I am not nearly as good with GIMP as I need to be. And a lot of the reason is I still do most of my web design work from this office. And when I'm in this office, I got Photoshop right behind me. Photoshop does work better than GIMP in many instances. However, when I'm on the road, this is the computer I use. And I took a 2-week stretch across country this summer and no problems with GIMP whatsoever. So I can do anything I need to do. Occasionally I'm a little slower with it as I'm learning how to use it. There's some things that it works a little bit differently than Photoshop, but certainly works very well. All right, so now all of my files are up to date. What we're going to do here is come over here, type in this awesome site, and now we'll go right into our setting up mode. We just need our database name, so all that's over here in my access file. So I need my database name, my username for my database, and my password. And I need to turn my phone on to silent. Now I just need to give it the site title, this awesome site. Let's give it a username. How about awesome user? Okay, we'll use this awesome user. And we're going to say this awesome password. And then I have to confirm a weak email, and then whoever is at abc.def.ghi is going to get their emails from me. All right, and then that's pretty much all it takes to install a WordPress site. So I'd never used the single one-click installers, so here's how I would have started a WordPress site. Now, where I go from here when I'm actually building WordPress is what I usually do is I build my own themes. So I have a Bootstrap theme, basically a bare bones Bootstrap theme with a blank CSS sheet, and I use that for my the starting files for everything that I'm doing. And then I'll just use that, and I will go right into the File Explorer like I just showed you into here. So, okay, so on this Nemo File Explorer here, you can see that I'm on the remote server because it says FTP. I'm on the 2015 theme, so if I come up to header, we're gonna mess around with this thing a little bit here. Okay, so here's what that says. We've opened up our header, and what we're gonna do is I'm gonna find, okay, see where it says echo site description? I'm gonna kill my site description. I'm gonna highlight this, and I'm gonna write switched to Linux was here. Save that to the remote server, reload this, and you'll see that now right over here it says switched to Linux was here, and this cat is trying to just take over the world. Look at that. Oh. This is the CEO and the director of the whole business here, right here. He's a little lazy though. He goes and sleeps through most of the day. All right. So that's how I would make any adjustments. I just kind of start here. You can see that as we are on the FTP server here. So any adjustments that I might want to make, let's have a look and let's mess around with the footer a little bit. I'm not seeing much in the footer. Let's not mess around with the footer. I'm not seeing much over there. Sidebar. There's the sidebar's pretty much used. Let's see. Let's just get rid of this code. We're going to write H1. Actually, we're going to add some style to it. And font size, 500 pixels. And we're going to go, I'm just totally breaking stuff. Okay, so you can see how we can do just the simple adjustments. Let's make this only 5 pixels. Well, let's make it 5 pixels, not 0 pixels. Save that. Okay, so you can see actually here with my workflow how I'm working here, why I like the Windows setup. On a Mac, this would absolutely drive me bananas because I'd have to I don't have a way to quickly push this button and minimize everything. I would not have the ability to quickly navigate back and forth. And then I'll keep my control panel if I need it. I'll keep my dashboard here, my public-facing version of the site here. But then if I need to do any code research, maybe I want to go to get some Bootstrap stuff. So get Bootstrap will allow me to have, maybe I want to look up some codes or I want to look up some Bootstrap GIFs that I have available to me. So I can come over here and then I can just kind of keep this as a separate window. And so now I can come down here and I can use everything dealing with my site is here, everything dealing with my research is over here. So I can keep things separate and navigate relatively quickly through things. Now, the other thing you can do, if you happen to be working offline and you're not wanting to work online, maybe you don't trust yourself quite as much or whatever, you can start with the files that you have. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and restore the, I'll go ahead and restore the sidebar and the footer back to how they were. So if you recall, you can see right here in that little 5 pixels is actually where that little thing was. So what we're going to do here, though, is I'm going to minimize this so we can move this guy over here. You like that Grand Canyon picture? Snap that this summer. That was pretty fun. All right. So come over here. I just want this one up. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to navigate to where I need to be on my folder here. So I think it's called This Awesome Site. Okay. So we're going to navigate, and everything on the 2 left panel bars are actually the files. Oh, I need to drop the WordPress files into there. Content, themes, and that was the 2015 theme I was editing. So now I need to come over. Everything on the 2 right panels, the directories are up on the top and the files are on the bottom. So I'm going to navigate over here And then I can just come over here, make my edits offline with my Bluefish Editor, and then I can just double click files to send them over. So I think I messed with the header. It's going to give me the notification. Would I like to overwrite that? The answer is yes. And then I think sidebar was the other one that I did. So F5, that should return me back to how I had the site normally. Okay. So there's some of the web design stuff that I use as I'm engaging in my regular work. Let's see if there's any other software I'm forgetting about that I actually use. I might use Skype. I still do a lot of Skype communication back and forth with people. So I use Skype. And I'm not going to open it up. But the other programs I have Thunderbird and I have Evolution. So Thunderbird and Evolution are two completely different type of webmail, or not webmail, email client applications. The Evolution supports, look at that, the cat lives again. The Evolution supports the unified inbox, which is actually my preferred method of doing email. Thunderbird follows the more modern structure where each account has its own separate folder. I use Thunderbird for any of my online type accounts that I need to have for various projects. And then I use all of my Evolution for everything else. Obviously, I make heavy use of the spreadsheets and the writer documents for anything I'm doing there. And those are about what I use as far as programs for what I'm doing in web design and web development. Obviously, if I have a client that needs, some basic static HTML site, I come into FileZilla, put in my FTP access, and what I do is I drop all the files to my desktop. What I actually have is up here under where I keep my picture, I have a series of folders that I just keep them in that one little group so you can never really see them. But there's these files up here, and in this case, all of the websites that are currently active websites are over there. And I just drag and drop the various files over into that folder, open that up, do all my work from there. And then once the once the site is done, it moves into my archives where it goes onto my documents folder and then makes its way into into my backup servers. So that's kind of how I do web design development. Bluefish is what I use. Now there's several other several other HTML editors out there that I've seen. The only other one that I've spent significant amounts of time using is Aptana, which does give you a more Dreamweaver-like FTP ability inside of it, but it doesn't. I seem to have some stability issues with it, and so I eventually just uninstalled it because I just found myself using Bluefish Editor. It's extremely stable, works very well, has all the code completions that I need. Everything works just well. So that is that. So that's actually how to spin up a quick WordPress site, how you might use Bluefish Editor to make theme edits, FileZilla to make some edits. Why I use Cinnamon, simply working off the desktop really quickly. It certainly beats going back and forth. And the reason I like the Cinnamon desktop, how it's like Windows, is I can very quickly work and maneuver things directly off of the desktops. Where are you going? You want this, don't you? Is this what you want? Oh yeah, he wants this. Look at that. This cat is like, yeah, you want that? There you go. No? No? Maybe? Maybe not? I don't know what he wants right now. Okay. He wants something. I don't know what. All right. So that's just what I do for web design development. This is my computer that it is completely ready to replace my other computer. Actually, another program that I did not highlight. Is it still on here? You know what? Maybe I haven't put it on. I don't use it quite as much, but if I have the need to use Illustrator on Photoshop, Illustrator on a Windows computer. I have Illustrator. I use Inkscape for this. It's very possible. I just don't use it very much. And actually, I usually do a lot of my Inkscape stuff on the Ubuntu computer over here if I'm in my office. So, not sure if maybe it got uninstalled at some point in time, or maybe I just had never used it. But as soon as I'm actually ready to need it, I can install Inkscape on here. In fact, why don't we just I don't know why people don't use Linux more. There's Inkscape. All right. Of course, Inkscape is like Illustrator, so if you do any logo design or you can use Inkscape for desktop publishing. Basic desktop publishing, I'd probably use the LibreOffice. Which one is it? LibreOffice Draw is what I'd use for some basic desktop publishing. But if you want to use more advanced desktop publishing, you'd probably want to use Illustrator. Or, of course, Illustrator would be the Adobe platform on Linux. You use Inkscape. And Inkscape is actually, according to the people that use these programs more frequently than I do, Inkscape is just as good as Illustrator as far as what I know. So I use it seldomly. A few instances I need to use something on here, but that's the option for you. So that Inkscape, GIMP is what I use for my image editing. I use Bluefish Editor for my HTML. I use FileZilla for file transfers, and of course on Nemo I can FTP into individual servers so that I can do direct manipulations directly from the servers. So that's how I'd use a Linux computer in a full web design environment. How close is it to Windows? I think that Dreamscape is a little bit better than Bluefish Editor. Maybe I need to spend some time looking at some of the other HTML editors out there. But as far as efficiency, I find that if I'm out traveling, doing work on this computer, I think I'm just as fast as I am if I'm in the home office using that. I think the only reason that I'm probably more efficient on that is this is still a laptop setup, and this is completely docked onto a station with its own keyboard, mouse, much larger screen. So I think if I had taken this computer that I'm looking at here, and I attached it to a monitor and a keyboard and set it over here the same way, and give myself 1 week, I'd probably be at the exact same efficiency. So that's that. That's the power of using Linux in web design. So with that, I'm going to practice my ventriloquism again, because the kitty would like to come up and say,
Thank you very much for watching, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux. I'm gonna go rule the world.
all right, so thanks for watching.